Hi YouTube, I wanted to talk to you about what happens when somebody comes off dialysis. So I'll tell you a little bit and I'll do it in 10 minutes about my dad and his journey from realising he had kidney failure, stage 4, your kidneys are now ornaments, and what that looks like and how long it takes. And there is actually a pattern to how long it takes for people of a certain age to live uh, while they are being dialyzed. So my dad became ill when he was 77 years old, and it looked like this. So he started to get really, really tired and wasn't able to walk up the stairs. So me and my siblings were kind of like, I remember when he was 77, he died at the age of 81, and the first signs were exhaustion and fatigue. He was really, really tired. So he'd never been like that. So he'd come downstairs. I keep mentioning going up and down the stairs because my dad had his own room. My parents were married for 55 years, hated each other. So they had separate parts of the house. But it's all good. I say hate, but there was affection there, but they just needed their own space. So he had his room upstairs. So he started at the age of 77 and becoming really, really noticeably exhausted. And then over a period of about, I would say about 2 months, maybe, his weight dropped. And one particular day, he came down the stairs and he went to the kitchen and made himself a cup of tea and then leaned on the worktop, just leaned. And I remember myself and one of my siblings looking at each other across the table and then looking at him and just sort of saying, "You okay?" That kind of thing. So cutting forward, because I said I'd wrap this up in 10 minutes because we're all busy, and so to cut to it. So what happened was very, very quickly, and I would say it was less than another 4 weeks before he became so exhausted and fatigued that he couldn't get out of his chair in his room upstairs. He was struggling even just to get to the bathroom. He was so exhausted and couldn't catch his breath and so on. So um, as things got worse, we as a family started having conversations about we need to speak to the doctor. Now, the reason we hadn't done it prior to the day that we did is because my dad at the age of 77 had never, ever, 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 ever been to a doctor in his life. He'd never been to a doctor. He'd never been in hospital. He'd never anything. And he was very anti, "Oh, I'll be fine. I'll shake it off," this kind of like this Irish kind of like, "It'll all be fine." And, a bit of like TCP, or I don't know, just like a paracetamol, and it'll be fine. It's like, no. So this one particular day, and this is about 3 months after we first noticed, 3 months after we first noticed that he was getting really weak and losing weight. And bearing in mind, throughout this 12-week period, we had all, myself and my siblings, constantly, "Are you okay? Do you need to go see a doctor?" "No, no, no, fussing and all that, So here's a guy who's not going to the doctor. He's not going. Don't you dare phone anyone. And in the end, we had to rule him. So let's cut forward to, this has been going on now for about 12 weeks. So what happened was, this one particular day, I'd gone to visit my parents, and I went in, and my mum was there, and she was like, "There's something wrong with him. There's something wrong. Yeah, I'm worried now. I think maybe a doctor or something." So I went upstairs, and my dad was always a well dressed, smart man, and he always had a long sleeved shirt, his trousers, and a jumper, and his tie, sitting in his chair watching Western movies or whatever, and he looked really bad. And this is what happened. We got chatting, and while we were chatting, he was constantly itching. He was itching and itching and itching and itching, like really bad. And I said, "Look, I really think we need to call someone, Dad. I think we need to call. Let's just get you checked out. It's fine. You don't have to go anywhere, but we do need to get you checked out, like." And he was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. My skin's itchy though. It's just my skin." Oh my Jesus! So he pulled up the end of his trousers, and he had ripped his skin off. This isn't itching, this is off the grid. And I was like, what the hell? And then the same on the other leg, and then lifted up the sleeves on his shirt and jumper, and he had ripped his skin off. So the first thing I did, I don't know why, the very first thing I did while I was sat with him in that moment was I just Googled weight loss, not eating or drinking, ripping your skin off, and fatigue. And the first thing that came up was kidney failure. And that was it, I knew. So that was it. So I went downstairs, spoke to my mum. I phoned my dad's two sisters who lived in Slough, and one of them still lives there. The other one, God love her, has passed. Anyway, and we had like basically a conference, and it was like, right, we're done. We're overruling him. He is going to hospital. Phone the paramedics immediately. And I remember initially being met with this kind of, if I dare say, because no disrespect to the call handlers, but the young lad on the phone, no 999, not like, the non-emergency. This was an emergency. He was like, is the patient breathing? Blood pressure, not blood pressure, the temperature on his chest. And then after me saying, that's all fine, that's all fine, that's all fine, he said, so why are you calling? And I said, I actually think my dad might be dying. And at that point, he just said, oh, okay, we're sending an ambulance anyway, right. Sometimes you have to just say what you're seeing. Ambulance comes out, he goes straight into hospital. So now we've got 3 years, and I've got about 2 minutes left. So let's cut forward. Straight into hospital. Blood test confirms his kidneys are ornaments, not even working, and he had to have the initial dialysis through, the line, straight to the heart and the blood and so on, until he had the fistula done in his arm. That all takes that actually might have taken about 6 weeks. Anyway, so my dad's now dialysed, and he's dialysed 3 times a week for 4 hours. And it's brutal, absolutely brutal. It really is. It's exhausting. Journeys to the hospital constantly. My mum didn't feel comfortable having him on dialysis at home. She felt that he would be safer in the hospital because of his age and so on. So we were told right at the beginning of dialysis, of this journey, that given his age, he would have a quality of life for 3 years. So let's cut forward. 81 years old, and he's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Dialysis is a poor second to your kidneys, but it does work, and it keeps, and thank God for dialysis, because he had three further years, and lots of memories and so on. So this is what happened. When my dad couldn't take the dialysis anymore, because eventually you can't, especially when you're an older person. When he couldn't take the dialysis anymore, the day that they took him off dialysis, we were told that he will survive for up to 14 days. So we as a family all thought that, okay, let's go to the middle part of this and say that 7 days. He lasted 23 hours. He lasted 23 hours off dialysis, and died of a heart attack the next morning. He was just absolutely full of fluid, completely, utterly. When he tried to speak, it was just like speaking through water. So he died. He did die peacefully. I was alone with him, and it was peaceful, but it was so sudden and so quick. And the fact that we kind of all thought we'd have no, not 14. We thought, okay, worst case scenario 7. No, when they tell you it's 1 to 14 days, don't dismiss day 1, because that's what happened. It was day 1, and because of that, that was the reason that I was with him on my own, because everyone else was, journeying up to be there on, let's say, day 2 or 3. It didn't happen. So yeah, so that's what my dad's journey looked like with kidney failure. Length of time tends to be based on your age and your fitness level and so on. So anyway, that's a dialysis journey of my dad, and yeah, just being quite shocked at the very quick nature of his death after about 23 hours in 2021.